Hey everybody, welcome to episode 114 of the Askdap Show, where I answer your Volkswagen and Audi questions. On this episode, we talk about tinting a vehicle with blind spot monitoring, component locations for Audi 3.2 cam solenoids, and swapping facelift lights into a Mark 7.
Adam via email says, in the 2017 owner's manual with regards to the blind spot monitoring system, VW says, tinting on the side windows or aftermarket tinting films can interfere with indicator lights in the outside mirrors or cause false readings. I'm hesitant to tint my windows because of this. Do you have any thoughts on why VW would say this?
Okay, so you have blind spot monitoring and you want to tint the vehicle. And I see that you have that note there. Here's a couple things of what I think it is. And let's talk about, for anybody who's not familiar with blind spot monitoring, how actually that system works. Obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory. Blind spot monitoring is to monitor the blind spot of the vehicle when you're driving on the highway. It will alert you when there is somebody in your blind spot, and it does that through radar sensors. Now, the primary use of that is obviously when you're driving on the highway. So the only really place that it matters is kind of on the rear side of the vehicle, is where it's looking for that radar sensors. And to my knowledge, and I believe this to be true, and all the things that I've looked at confirm this, is that the only sensors used during blind spot monitoring for that system are the radar sensors that are located in the rear bumper, actually behind the bumper cover itself. So you can't see them, but they are there. If you take a look at this picture here, it shows the catalog of where a parts catalog picture of where there would be a bracket and then the sensor itself that's in the rear of the vehicle. So the only reason why I suspect they're actually telling you not to tint the vehicle is because it makes it harder to see the blind spot monitor on the mirror itself. That's the only thing I could suspect why, because it's not, to my knowledge, again, this is my understanding, is I don't think there's any cameras or anything inside the vehicle that use some sort of vision of the rear of the vehicle to monitor anywhere else. So since it's just those radar sensors, tinting the windows won't have any effect, but it would affect your visibility of the blind spot monitor, which is likely why they have that note there.
Garth via YouTube says, hope you can help. I'm getting conflicting info. Is it normal for some oil to be on the outside of the boost hoses from the Mark 6? I've searched, I don't know if I'm doing a search on the right things. The mechanic said it was normal. He's got a second opinion. And the actual hoses are fine and aren't leaking. I should note that the oil buildup is right in the middle where the inlet hose connects to the other.
Okay, this comment was left on a video that I talked about that had oil in the boost pipes. And so what he's saying is on his boost pipes themselves, there's some leaking and I guess some grime and dirt around there at the joint of that. So I can tell you that I'm pretty sure I know what this is, and I would say it's potentially normal, but probably not. I mean, the real thing is how big of an issue is it really? So what I suspect that is that your vehicle has oil in the boost pipes again, which is semi-normal depending on the quantity. But you have a small boost leak, and so when you get on boost, it's actually creating like this fine mist of oil that's leaking out of the joints under heavy boost. So it's creating that mist that comes out kind of near that joint, and then all dirt and debris kind of stick to oil leaks as a general rule. And so it's very likely that that's actually what's going on. You may want to double check to make sure that you don't have a ton of oil in your boost pipes, because of that could be an indication that you have some, a bad turbo, something of that nature. If not, the only way you're going to solve that would be probably to smoke test the system. We've talked about that in the past. I have a video that talks about checking boost leaks. That would be a good one to watch to at least get an understanding of what I'm referring to. And then that would probably be the best way. But my guess is if it's a fine mist like that, based on what you're describing, it's probably not a significant boost leak, and so it really just determines as to whether you feel like it's enough of a problem to worry about, because small leaks like that are hard to track down. So, and you may require to replace either seals and or hoses themselves, because a lot of the hoses, and I'm not sure the one you're referring to, a lot of them use quick couplers, and those can tend to leak potentially depending on where they're located.
Edward via YouTube says, I keep getting a P24 code on an 05 A6 3.2. I see the two camshaft solenoids on the top under the rear cover on both banks. Where are the other two?
Okay, so 3.2 V6, and this is not to be confused with the 3.2 VR6. Audis use a 3.2 V6 on some other models, and you have what is P0024, that is timing over advance faults. Sounds like it's, yes, going to be obviously related to either those solenoids or potentially the tensioners on the cams themselves. For anybody who's not familiar with how this system works, essentially at the end of the camshaft there are kind of these adjustable cam gears that are driven by oil pressure. There are solenoids that are electronic that control the flow of that oil to those valves. So what you're referring to is that 3.2 V6 engine has 4 of those solenoids, and you're looking for the location of them. So if you look at this picture here, you can see that you have the valve cover along the side, and then you have a solenoid that actually is in the valve cover itself towards the rear of the valve cover. That's the exhaust side. And if you look at the one that's sticking out on the other side of the cylinder head, it's on the inner side near the intake, where it would be, is the intake solenoid. And then it's going to be located in kind of a mirror image on both sides. You're going to have 2 on the insides and then 2 sticking into the valve covers that kind of go far in there. So there's the location of those parts. I'll link to both those, the solenoids in the description, and all 4 solenoids are actually the same part on that engine.
Josh via YouTube says, do you guys have the front lights for the Mark 7.5 facelift also?
Okay, so this comment was left on a video of our Mark 7 facelift taillights, DIY, and our harness and whatever. So we've had this question quite a bit, and as anytime we have these new models, we get questions like this around headlights and taillights. Headlights is not something that we generally mess with, mostly because of cost. Factory headlights are very expensive, especially when you talk about xenon, and then Mark 7 facelift has LED potentially as an option for LED headlights. A lot of people would love to switch to LED headlights, but not a lot of people are going to be wanting to pay for LED headlights, because I think the last set of LED headlights I looked at for a Volkswagen was on a non-US car that I saw them on, and I think it was the e-Golf, and I think they were like $1,800 per headlight. So you're talking about almost $4,000 just in headlights, and that doesn't even start to touch the cost to retrofit them and coating required and whatever. So the amount of people who are going to be doing that retrofit is very, very small. So we don't generally go into looking into retrofits like that, because it is an expensive thing that very few people are going to be looking to do. With that said, this kind of goes on to just basically the ability to swap the two interchangeably. The facelift front end, as far as I believe, is actually different. So I have checked a few things on those cars. Mark 7 versus Mark 7 facelift. They use the same hood. They do not use the same fenders. And I think that's because the facelift headlights have a slightly different shape. So if we take a look here at these two vehicles side by side, we can look at the Mark 7, the standard Mark 7 first, and then we have the facelift here. Now I tried to get two pictures that were at the same angle to try to give the most reasonable option for people that could be as close of a comparison as possible. If you don't have exactly the perfect angle, it's hard to say definitively, I'm guaranteed there's different lights, but I suspect there are, because if you look close here, we kind of have an outline of the one light here of the Mark 7 one, and if we overlay that on top of the facelift one, it doesn't match up. Now again, because these aren't the perfect angle, it could be kind of an optical illusion. I don't believe that to be the case. I think the actual shape is different because both of them use different part numbers for their fenders. Their left and right fenders are different on the facelift versus the older Mark 7. And the body lines all look the same, so I don't know if the headlight shape wasn't different, why they would change the fender part number. So, and again, obviously the bumper cover would also be another one that is a question mark. Even if you decide you want the facelift headlights, I don't know that the shape of the bottom of the bumper cover on a facelift is actually the same as on a standard Mark 7. You could kind of look at pictures and try to take your best guess. They seem kind of close, but the fenders actually seem kind of close too, and they seem to be different part numbers. So, and obviously they use a different part number for a facelift bumper than a factory one or a standard Mark 7 one, because the bumpers are just completely different. So, but yeah, hopefully that shares some insight in regards to that type of retrofit. I don't suspect that it's going to be something that's going to be too easily done. Someone could do it if you wanted to invest the time, energy, and then money into making that work. It is a possibility. Thank you so much for watching episode 114 of the Askdap Show, where I answer your Volkswagen and Audi questions. If you have any questions or comments about the questions answered in this show, be sure to leave in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more like this.